Ellen should be working. Wait a minute. You're gonna want. No, I don't. What are you on? That's why.
Carry out in tranquility the
Almost there.
the plan of salvation. Let the whole world see and know that things that were cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old and staticky are being made new, and that all things are being brought to their perfection by him through whom all things were made, your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. Okay. Thank you all for your patience and your kindness and your gentleness and grace with each other. So I've called the meeting to order, and we've had a prayer, and now I'd like to acknowledge Phil and Jacob and Clark, and everybody else who helped put the technology together. Come on, clap. We're clapping for you.
What? Oh.
We're clapping for you for going through all this excrement to make this work. And to the cooks, yay! And to all of us who are going to help clean up later, yay! And I also want to thank Clark and Jacob, who are our live streaming vergers. So they're going to make sure that people who are online, which is now Karen and Roger and Shirley, to make sure that if they want to speak, they can speak. And when it's time to vote, they can vote and get counted. So thank you, gentlemen.
The owl was not turned on.
The owl was not turned on?
Nope.
Is the owl working now?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, let's find out. We'll try once again for the owl.
Just switched it to the owl, but it's not working.
The owl is not on. The owl is on, but not functioning. Such as it is.
No.
Okay, whatever.
Okay,
I thought so.
we'll keep trying. Thank you. Okay, let's try that. I also want to thank Debbie Wilson, who is our new clerk of the vestry. Yes? Where are you? Oh, where are you? Oh, she's back there. Okay, so she's going to be taking notes for our meeting. And she may say that again. Right? Okay, anyway, we're acknowledging her. I want to make sure that we have a quorum, which is 25 according to our bylaws. Mary Ellen.
We have 35 people here and 3 on Zoom.
Thank you. 35 here and 3 on Zoom. We have a quorum. All right, thank you for that. And I don't think we need to go over the Zoom instructions, although you are online, if you need to, make sure that Jacob and Clark hear you so they can convey to us what you want to say and how you vote. Then, for a little something different, we're going to start with some entertainment besides the technological. Okay.
Your camera is off, right?
My camera is off. Thank you.
I think it's still morning, so good morning. You know, a number of years ago, my children turned into adults. And then it seemed like no time at all, my grandkids turned into adults. And I was left with nobody to play with. So I had to find me some new playmates. So on that note, I would like to introduce our St. Albans Episcopal players and their presentation of What We Hope Our Neighbors Are Seeing.
Turn your attention that way.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Wow, it looks like St. Albans has a big event going on.
I heard they were having their annual meeting today.
What is an annual meeting? Oh, I bet I know. It's one you have every year.
But they've always had their meeting in January.
I'll bet I know why. When the Seahawks made the playoffs, that made 18 games in the season, and that pushed the meeting back into February. Go Hawks!
Now we'll have to root for the Chiefs or the Eagles. What's the most important thing they do at their business meetings? Do they vote on important things?
No, I think they do that, but the most important thing is they eat.
But do they vote on important things?
I'm sure they do. It's probably like a vestry meeting. Information is presented, the pros and cons are considered, and then they flip a coin.
Who do you think is the first one that's going to go to sleep?
Well, there are so many, it'll probably be hard to tell who falls first.
Looks like a lot of gray and white on among all those spaghetti stains.
Yeah, a lot of us in this golden age category.
I'm sure all of our IDs, or most of our IDs, say retired. But it's good.
What? Retired? Their IDs may say that. Mine says rest in peace.
Oh my goodness, what happened? Everybody has a panicked look on their face.
I think I know why. They just passed out the spreadsheets.
But they all seem interested in the information, and they seem concerned about their church's events and activities.
And they seem to have a lot of those. Everybody seldom talks about all the good things. All we hear are the bad news.
It sure is nice to live in a neighborhood where we see such positive activities.
It is. St. Albans is hosting the Edmonds West Preschool Cooperative, and not exactly in those words ordered.
I enjoy taking advantage of their labyrinth where I can walk and pray. I've seen parents dropping their kids off at the West Edmonds Cooperative Preschool. And some of the parents stay to help out.
It took me a while to figure out what was happening there on Sunday mornings. Early in the morning, so many people in cars came, and then they left, and then early in the afternoon, a whole new batch of cars and people came. I understand that they're sharing this space with another church.
Then we learned that St. Albans is sharing their building with a different church. Isn't that gracious of them?
They also share their facilities with a Boy Scout and a Girl Scout troop. Isn't that great?
And I heard that they really support Chase Lake Community School. They do school supplies and backpacks, and my favorite, books.
Plus, consistently collecting food for the food bank. Now, wasn't it great that they figured out how to have a drive-through food collection during the period of the pandemic when we couldn't get together?
That made it easy for us neighbors to make food contributions on a regular basis.
You know, St. Albans has a piano and a pipe organ. Some mornings when it's really quiet, I can hear them. I like to hum along.
To keep this neighborhood appreciation thing going, I was really impressed one Saturday last spring when there were all these kids in the parking lot running around. And then I found out that the church had sponsored an Easter egg hunt and had made it possible for special needs children to participate.
Like I said, we sure are lucky to live in such a nice neighborhood with so many activities turned into action. They sure do practice what they preach over there.
Thank you, St. Albans, for being such good, inspiring neighbors.
Like a good neighbor,
St.
St.
Albans
Albans
is
is there. A beat, that's all, folks. So we're looking for more people, particularly men, to join us. In March, we're planning on doing some radio drama, and that should be fun. So, yeah, please come and join us. See Jan.
I hope the rest of the meeting is as entertaining as it like me. Well, I'll spell all my best lines. Not lines, topics. That's okay, good.
Just there for.
The microphone's, I did. You know what I did? I turned it, I turned it off because I was moving stuff around and I didn't want to interrupt the Episcopalians.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get a big badge, this big scarlet I'm sorry. So we're moving on to the agenda proper. So are there any amendments to the agenda, which is before you? No. All right. I don't see any. Nope. Yes, sir.
I do not believe the people in the Zoom call can currently hear you.
Really? My microphone is on. My microphone is on twice. I am not speaking. Perhaps that's why. Can you check with them? You're checking right now. Okay. So, I heard this story on the radio the other day from teachers who were saying that all their kids since the pandemic and coming back, either they lost ground in their learning or they lost ground in their social skills, and there was even one in preschool, and they had like kids 3 years old telling the big teacher, no! Like all of that was lost. Apparently the same is true for our technology. That's all I'm saying. So what I'm getting at is this: I appreciate how gracious you're being with all of this difficulty. Because that's a good example that the rest of the world needs. Can we go ahead? Clark? Jacob?
Could you announce if everybody has their chat on Zoom?
Okay.
I'm trying to understand their chat hole. I just want to get a hold.
Say that again?
I'm trying to get a hold of them. Is that their chat box?
Okay. Just a second, sir, y'all. Wow. Clark, it says that you're talking, but it sounds like you're on one of the Borgs.
Yeah, I just have to do it over so that the people on Zoom can.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know, at our diocesan convention, this sort of stuff was happening, and the bishop sat there at the head table, and he did not get up and walk out, and there was no sound of garbage cans being kicked, but I could see him. In his heart of hearts, he was going out and kicking dumpsters. He remained calm. And now, Clark? No? Okay. Well, I think we're just going to keep going, and we're just going to keep going. So, Mary Ellen, you are up now to talk about the outreach ministry process and ballots thereof. So, I'd like to introduce to you Mary Ellen Young, our treasurer and head of the outreach ministry.
Okay, hello everyone. This is my outreach hat, and we are now starting the process to vote for 4 organizations that will receive our 3rd week outreach basket offerings starting 2nd quarter going through 1st quarter of next year. This quarter we are supporting Compass Health. Please note, and I passed out to many of you the ballot, and the ballot is on both sides, and they are due by February 26th. This ballot was created by the Outreach Committee consisting of Carrie Cohn, Connie Forsberg, who thought basketball, the UW women playing today was an important thing to do, and Mary Fowler and myself. And earlier, I think it was in December sometime, we asked for nominations, and we also offer the opportunity at any time for anyone to join our committee. So you can just let one of us know if you'd like to be a part of the committee. And the committee works really hard. It takes about one meeting a year. Oh yeah, this time we had lunch too, so we got to visit. This year we wanted to reduce the number of options on the ballot, even though it's still 2 pages, but we did really remove at least 5 or 6 organizations. And how we chose the ones to remove was we looked at over the past 4 years, someone had a spreadsheet with the votes. So we could identify which organizations had gotten the least votes over the 4 years. So those are the ones that were eliminated. So these are the choices, and we wanted to reduce the number of options partially because we want the winner to be chosen by more than 1 vote. When we have too many, our votes get spread out, and it's just 1 vote that makes the difference. So we want as many ballots to come in. We've mailed it out to the people who get the around the parish by mail, and next week I will email it so you have another chance. And we also put the list in the ATP, and we'll do it again. So all you have to do is send an email to either me or the church office. So there's lots of ways to vote. There's a basket on the shelf over on the left-hand side as you head out of the parish hall. You can put it through the mail slot in Greg's door. You can put it in the brown box, and we will have some ballots in the brown box for people who want to drive by and pick one up. Can mail it to the church, and again to email. So there's lots of ways to vote. So please vote. The ballot also gives you the information about when these organizations were selected as winners, what quarter, and the amount of money we sent. So you can see how supportive we've been. And we sent $770 in January to Cocoon House from 4th quarter. So you guys have really been generous, so please vote. I would say vote often, but no, we only want 1 vote per person. Okay, now I'm going to change hats, and we're going to talk about the financial reports. And I'll start with, before I start with the financial reports for last year, I want to just make a couple comments. We are a very generous people. In addition to the $202,000 in income we received last year, we also donated $23,000 towards outreach, which is 11% of the other money that we collected. And this dollar amount doesn't include the items for the food bank that we collect either from ourselves or by the drive-by, the school supplies that we give to Chase Lake. It does include the money for the gift cards, but we also sent lots of stuff for Mission to Seafarers. So the money just represents the money, but not the things that we buy things for and donate. So we are indeed generous. I also want to start out with some cautionary notes about our financial situation. I've been known to say we are doing very well financially on the brink of disaster. So why do I say that? Well, we have a big risk in that 42% of our pledge income comes from people that are over 80. But on the good news, we don't follow the normal 80-20 rule because of our total pledge income, 80% of it comes from 40% of our pledgers. And so we've diversified the base over the last few years, so that is good. We are also blessed to have a budget reserve fund that was started by Marjorie Gerard because when she passed away, she blessed us with an additional year of donations. And so we set that aside in a budget reserve fund. So that is a protection. And we also have other savings that will help us when or if we start experiencing losses. We've also diversified our income sources in that 10% of our income comes from Temple Emmanuel and the preschool. So that's good, and that came at a time, God provides, and that money came at a time we needed it. And that's the positive note, is many times in the past, many years I've been here, we've had a major person either pass away or move away, but God has always provided someone else, someone new to come through the door that has embraced our community, or the renters like Temple Emmanuel and the preschool. So we are indeed blessed. So it's kind of a good news with caution as we go forward. So the end of year financials are on page 7 of the annual report. I'm just going to be making some highlights from that. We ended December on a positive note with 13,000 greater of income than we spent. This resulted primarily because we had a one-time contribution last year of about 6,000, and we underran our expenses by almost 10,000. Year to date, we came in, income was almost $1,500 more than what we budgeted. Expenses were underrun primarily because we had savings with paying a supply organist instead of John Lerack when he left us. So that was some savings. And we also had some savings in the area of coffee hour expenses. Buildings and grounds were slightly over budget from the repair to our heating system in the Sunday school in December. But the good news is last year we did not have to tap into our buildings and grounds savings. I've been known to say Phil can spend it as fast as we can save it. But last year I think we made progress.
The buildings spend it.
Yeah. If we had not had the special gift and had spent our budget as planned, we would have had a $3,000 shortfall last year. The vestry, the Finance Committee recommended and the vestry approved the surplus from last year to be allocated as follows. $8,000 to go to a budget reserve fund, because when I talk about the budget for next year, you'll see we have a shortfall. So we're in essence pre-funding our shortfall. $2,000 to an undesignated fund, which will fund new ministries and other anticipated projects. And then $2,000 for the new Community Hospitality Evangelism Fund that will support projects like the Community Easter Egg Hunt, the Warming and Cooling Center, cold weather shelter meals, and other projects that are administered by the Peace and Social Justice Committee led by Jim Gilman. So, any questions on 2022 before I move on to 2023? Okay. The narrative budget is on page 9 of the annual meeting report. I'm just going to be highlighting some things that are embedded in those reports. So you might want to read it more at home at your leisure. But that report shows how our money is spent to make our ministries that we do possible. Pledge income for 2023 is 98% of last year. We did make a slight increase to Temple Emmanuel starting September of 2022, and we're also going to have slight increases to both organizations in September of 2023, which is when we do the annual renewal of the contract. Overall income is increased by almost 2,000 more than what we got in 22, but 3/4 of that really does come from our rent increases. So another indication of how important our renters are besides a ministry. On the expense side, personnel expenses were increased with an 8.7 cost of living, as well as progression and merit increases for both our rector and the parish administrator. For the budget, we're using an estimate for the organist based on what the music committee suggested. And that's what we budgeted for the full year. But as you know, we don't have an organist yet, so we'll have some savings starting out because we'll be continuing to use Martin as a supply organist, and that's a little bit less expensive. We have added earthquake insurance at $416, and this has a $15,000 deductible and $300,000 in coverage. The other increase is going to be in utility expenses of about 9%, and you all know utilities are going up, and so some were announced and some were forecasting. And then we did a slight increase to the grounds maintenance budget because we now have to pay dump fees when we take stuff to the dump, and we want to have some money available in case it snows so much and we can find someone to do some snow removal. So there's a little bit of money to cover that when that occurs. In the other expense area, first of all, it was in the ATP, but you may or may not remember, we've received a bequest from Rita Bennett's estate of almost $32,000 for inner healing ministry. Now, we're using the definition, and there's many definitions of inner healing, so we're trying to determine what does that mean and how can we use it since it's a designated bequest. And working with Shirley Wilson and looking at the Christian Renewal Association website, the one that Rita started, we're using the definition, help people experience the truth of their identity through a personal encounter and ongoing relationship with Jesus Christ. Now that's a lot of words, but the first area that jumped out for us is our faith formation activities really do help foster a relationship with Jesus Christ. So that's one of the areas we're using it. And we have a committee of the rector, the treasurer, faith formation and outreach liaisons from the vestry, an endowment board member, and Shirley Wilson as the executor of Rita's estate to administer this designated bequest. And we're hoping to come up with some other ideas of things that we can do, not only for ourselves, but for the community, maybe an outside speaker. Some of you were here when we had Herb O'Driscoll many years ago, and that was a wonderful event. So we have a lot of opportunities if we find the idea and the human resources to work on these projects. So if you have anything, get a hold of a member of the vestry. We also have a bequest we received from Barbara Lagazzino's estate, which was designated to cover music-related activities and potential organ repairs. Now, we used to have, like, when John was here, we had the once a month Taizé service. And so we had a small amount of money in our budget for music events. So we've decided that that's one way to use Barbara Lagazzino's bequest, as well as we know the organ needs to be protected. Using these bequests, we have a total of about $1,300 savings in our budget. So because of the gifts people have left for us, we have them supporting our budget in their designations. And if you're thinking about making a bequest, you also don't have to designate it. So, and we've added a new category of community life under evangelism of $300 to be also part of the activities I mentioned before, like the Easter egg hunt, warming and cooling, because we should have part of it as our budget, as well as the designated fund, $2,000 from the surplus, plus that bake sale in December brought in over $1,100. So we have a cushion of money both in the budget and in our designated fund to support those community activities. So bottom line, with projected income and expenses, we are projecting a budget shortfall of about $9,400. And as I said, we in essence pre-funded that with our surplus of $8,000 from this year. And the shortfall may be less depending on when we hire the music director and how much we have to pay the music director, both unknowns. Any remaining shortfall, we have the budget reserve fund to carry us forward. So a budget cautionary note for the future. We've had many years when we've anticipated a budget shortfall, and then it hasn't happened. But those shortfalls were much less than the $9,400 for the coming year. We have the reserve fund and we have savings and we're prepaying it this year, but the amount of our budget shortfall for this year is a cautionary note. We're in good shape for 2023, but we may have hard decisions to make in 2024. Any questions?
So if you, I have a question.
Greg has a question.
The question is, if the budget deficit is $9,400 and the $8,000 from the
Surplus.
yeah, surplus. So does that mean there's $1,400 left, or there's?
Yeah, there's 1,400 that could occur, and it may not even be that much because of the organist. So, but if we go forward this year without that surplus in 2024, we may not want to go forward with a $9,000, and by then with salaries and everything, it could be $10,000. So that's why I say we may have hard decisions to make next year. But we're going forward with what we've been doing, and we have it fully funded. So, any other questions?
I just was wondering, so there's a budget reserve fund? Budget reserve?
Right, the budget.
Where does that money come from?
The money largely came from the bequest, Marjorie Gerard. Now, when she left that for the year, we thought that would only last 3 years because she was a significant contributor to the budget. We've added to that, so not all of it was from Marjorie, but as we've had other surpluses in previous years. So we have been aware that we could have shortfalls. So we started setting aside savings designated particularly for that. Now, I'm someone that likes money in different categories. And if you have just one big savings, you forget what it's for. So we have a cash flow savings, because as everyone knows, you're supposed to have 6 months worth of your expenses saved, and we're at about 2.5, 3. So we do have that savings too. But by designating it budget reserve, that makes it crystal clear we can only use it for a budget shortfall, in my mind. The vestry can always overrule me. Carrie Cohn has a question.
Just to be clear, we did not burn through Marjorie Gerard's money in 3 years. Have we even touched it?
No, we have not touched the budget reserve because every year when we've anticipated shortfall, either our expenses have been less or our income has been more, so we have been blessed. But those were like $2,000 or $3,000 shortfalls. Any other?
How much do we have left in that reserve fund then?
36,000.
Thank you for the hard work.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Mary Ellen, for all of your time and energy and focus and frugality. So I think Jacob and Clark figured out what was going on earlier with our technology, and now Karen and Roger can hear us just fine. Yes? Yes. Yay. Good. Okay. Oops. And so now, after the treasurer's reports, Mary Ellen, someone wanted to know if there are more ballots for the outreach ministries. You have them. Yes, you do. They're over there they're on the shelf by the bulletin board. And the basket is there too, and probably pens. And very good. Oops, very good. Thank you so much. Judge Johnson. Okay, so now we're going to have some remarks from the wardens and from the rector. And we're going to start with Liz B., our senior warden.
All right. My first thought, not in print, is after listening to Mary Ellen, God is good. All the time, God is good. So we have shortfalls and somehow we survive. God keeps blessing us. I have very little motivation to read what I have in print here, so I hope you all have a copy. You can read that. I do want to acknowledge the people who have served on your vestry for the last year, showing up for our meetings and being liaisons to committees. And that is Maisie Hochstetter, who's not here today, Phil McClellan, who's been running around. Thank you for your buildings and grounds work, Phil. Raise your hand. Cindy Jacobson. Yeah. Shirley Clark. Jeannie Burpee. Eric Hansen. Jan Skidmore. And Wendra Vaughn. Woohoo! And then again, Mary Ellen for her work as treasurer, and Jeannie Wells as work as clerk for quite a while. And that's a big job. I did several meetings worth of minutes, and it was 3 to 4 hours of typing by the time I had it together and coherent. So thank you, Jeannie, for all that you give this church. So I want to just ask everybody to get a round of applause. And now I want to thank Debbie again for stepping in as our new clerk and taking on that work to keep us coherent and recorded properly for all the records. Skipping down in my notes, I did want to highlight that in the midst of all that we've done, all that we've been through with COVID, and people have already mentioned this, we keep going with the food bank, with Chase Lake. We stepped up, and I feel like it was a huge ministry and yet kind of subtle, that when Josiah was sleeping on our lawn, we fed him. We got him back in school with his scholarship. We got him a bicycle. That's God's work. And we didn't ask for it. We didn't go, hey, let's find a random homeless person. He showed up here. And I just really want to highlight that we do the work God sets before us. And I want to encourage us, keep it going. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Liz. Good. Phil McClellan. And Maisie's not here today. We'll talk about that later. If Phil has anything to say. He's not there? Wow, he's been raptured. Okay. Let's see. What's that?
These are the people on Zoom. If they have a question, they can use the chat, and we can read it for them. I don't know if they're on the chat or not.
Okay.
Chat's up there on the screen. Okay.
So, Shirley and Roger and Karen, if you have a question, I've been asked to have you ask it in chat. And we all are seeing the chat, and Clark and Jacob are monitoring the chat. So we will not miss out on your input. All right, well, if Phil's not here. Oh, yes, go ahead. The People's Warden. Okay, so Heather wants to know. Heather Small asked if we could define, since Maisie's not here, what the People's Warden is, what their duties are. That's a good start. Yeah, so vestry members help me out on this. Since the junior wardens are chosen by the vestry themselves. Carrie Cohn, help.
The question is,
What are the role and responsibilities of junior warden, people's warden? I can't tell you what it is, but I know when I see it.
yeah, they're to represent the people. So they're, while they're elected by the vestry, they are there to represent the congregation on vestry. And we've split that in two with the grounds as well as what we call the people's warden. To the best of my knowledge, people's warden and junior warden are the same thing. And that's about as best as I can do on,
I thought that's very good. Thank you. Okay, so did you hear that? Okay, so folks on Zoom, Carrie helped us have a deeper knowledge, understanding of what a junior warden is, and particularly what the people's warden is, a representative of the folks elected by the vestry to meet the needs of the congregation as a whole in relation to the vestry. Yeah, and the junior warden for buildings and grounds, who's Phil, who's here, might say something.
Okay.
Okay, and their responsibility is the buildings and grounds. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome. Okay, it's good afternoon now, right? Okay. Hi, Junior Warden for Buildings and Grounds. Well, a lot of it is as things come up, problems arise or whatever, my job is to make sure the vestry is informed, and also if it needs to run through the Buildings and Grounds Committee before it runs through vestry to get approval and see directions on the way things go. I am blessed with a very wonderful group of people that I have on my Buildings and Grounds Committee. One of them I relate to as my second-hand man, which is Craig Jacobson, who comes out here even working all night and helps me fix a door for the preschool's bathroom door, which I deeply appreciate. You never know what's going to come up. Preschool does things pretty well. It's not much trouble. But there are times when I get a phone call that says, "We have no heat." Say, "What? It worked? It was working yesterday." I said, "Yep, but it is not working today." Great. Okay. So then try and arrange and see what we can do it. I have a few companies in my Rolodex. Yes, that's an old term. That I use for certain things, and plumbing is one of it, and the heating. The heating is the same company that helped us put these furnaces in a few years ago. I find out that they can handle the gas furnaces in here, the boiler system that's in the Sunday school wing, the system that's hanging on the island. They can handle all three. That was the key, and they handle that very well. And they were able out here get the part and get it done within a very short period of time, and that worked. Keeping these grounds clean is a full-time job. Right now, even a couple days ago, as you saw, the Christmas trees were still here. Okay, I had a problem with the guy who we had arranged to chip up the trees for the Boy Scouts. While we gathered all the stuff or doing the Christmas tree recycling, we went around this property because windstorms have been they've been hell this year. And I've had tree branches all over the crazy place, and we made a big pile out here. Yesterday, between the Boy Scouts and us, we rented a chipper and got rid of all of it. It worked because then we can split the cost both ways, and it made it a lot easier to afford running a chipper. 3 hours, we were done. Whoopie-doo. So it worked real well. But I have the Boy Scouts help me immensely out here. I have a dear friend of mine, his name is Paul Cook. I do have a small budget where I can pay him so many hours through the year to help keep these grounds cleaned up, and I am so impressed with being able to get rid of all the big areas of blackberry bushes. They're gone. We're now working on ivy. We're getting there. So, because if you look out over here and through here, it's still looking pretty damn good. And I'm really very happy with it. But with Craig's help, the Boy Scouts, Paul's help. It's everyone that I get. Right now, I even got Jeannie Burpee helping me trim bushes. Thank you very much for that, because I don't do trimming. I told them long ago I'll sit on that tractor and mow the lawn all they want, but I don't do trimming. They might not know what's left when they get done. That's it. Anything else? Let's see. A lot of it is in my annual thing, a report of what we went on. The Boy Scouts do well with us here. The Eagle projects we get is numerous. We couldn't have half what we have here without them. The handrails. They put benches out by the playground. One Eagle project that I don't know if you know about is the preschool had the money to buy a shed. They didn't have the workforce to put it together. Eagle project. Eagle project came in here, and that way he didn't have raised money for the shed. We went around, got the funds, and put it together and put it up for them, and got rid of their old one. So it's nice the way things in this church click and the way they run. So I thank all the helpers that I have with this to keep this going, because it really makes a big difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. And Craig, and the Boy Scouts, and Jeannie. Well, they look great, the bushes. You're doing wonderful things. Hey, hi, it's time for my report. And I, like Liz, am not going to read you everything I wrote, because we want to leave before dinner time. Even though there's plenty of food left over. We got spaghetti dinner. I do want to make a few comments, though. And that this has been a great year of transition. We thought the last 2 years were crazed, but no, we still got another whole year out of craziness with the pandemic and coming back together, and then not being back together. Last year at Christmas, remember, we had to go back to online services only because there was a spike. Then John Lerac went back to San Francisco for a visit and came back and said, I was home. I need to go home. So we sent John off. Well, he left us in good shape. He picked out all the hymns for like 6 months or something, so we didn't have to do that. And right now, Eric and Jerry and Martin and I we've been doing that. So if you don't like the hymns, those were the ones I picked. Jerry will agree with that, yes. But anyway. And then more recently, Jim, who has been our official deacon, but a member of our congregation, he's decided that he, in fact, wants to be retired and not have to do all kinds of diocesan work, canonical work that's required by the diocese for someone who's in active ministry. So he's gone back to being just a regular old member of the congregation. But he can't join vestry because he's ordained. Oh. As Liz alluded to, I want to thank you all for what I've named as prophetic ministry in this neighborhood, in this place. Welcoming Josiah when every other place he went booted him out. Several times he said to me, I don't get it. Every other church I went to, every other place I went to, they made me move on. But you all didn't. What did you hear in Isaiah today? This is the fast I want. That you welcome the stranger. That you take in the indigent poor. Hello? That you feed the hungry. And heal the sick. That's right out of Isaiah. The Easter egg hunt for kiddos with physical disabilities. I wonder, she made special Easter egg, hiding spots that were this high off the ground. So if you were in a wheelchair, you could get them. Welcoming those for whom there is no other place of welcome. Thank you. The cold weather and the hot weather shelters. Can you imagine being outside and having no shade or nothing to drink in the summer? No place for a bathroom? Now, granted, and in the winter, a hot cup of coffee or a hot cocoa made with sugar. To get out of the wind, this is prophetic in the best sense of the word. And not without a cost. It's challenging. And it confronts us with our own sense of privilege or our own comfort or our own sense of right and wrong. So we have been changed by all of those things too, and we will, I pray, continue to be. A little bit about the music ministry. So John left us all those hymns, and then we gathered a group with, let's see if I can do this, Jeannie Burpee and Jerry Faley and Carrie Cohn and Eric. Phyllis Becker. Did I forget anybody? Me? So we met and we decided, what is God calling us into with this ministry of music? Because, if we didn't have, if we did not have a good musician, we are a lot less appealing and a lot less welcoming, right? And we've been blessed with very, very good musicians this year. First, of course, with John, and then with Casey. And she only played the piano, but she did it so lovingly. And then we got Paul, who brought us bells, right? And got folks involved and taught us how to sing that ancient hymn, which doesn't work with our modern ears so well, and we sang it beautifully. And now we've got Martin, who's just amazing with the organ. We will not be able to keep Martin. Just a heads up. This is my word of warning, like Mary Ellen said. Martin is retired, and we've agreed that he'll work through Easter, but after that, he wants to spend time with his wife, who's retiring about then. So we've been meeting. We went through all the stuff that God is calling us to, how we could apply that to the real world. We've made a job description, reworked that, and then made a job posting, and that is out. And we were taking names until next Tuesday, until Valentine's Day. So what we need from you all is to pray that people, the right person, see that announcement and be called here. We're frankly a little anxious, we on the committee, right? We're anxious that we're just anxious because it seems so tentative. Right now there are very, very few church musicians in the area, in the neighborhood. So keep us in your prayers, keep that person in your prayers, whoever they may be. I'm just going to say about our parish administrator, just what I said in the very first line. Where, oh, where would we be without Jeannie Wells? Yay! We've had some new members. 6 this year. 1, 2, 6. We've had some deaths. John Burpee about a year ago, and Claudia Walker, and Hazel Shaw a few months ago, and then Dave Wilson just last month. I miss them. That's all I can say. I miss them. All right, there is some. The big news, I think, for us is this. So, because we have some folks in our congregation already with intellectual or developmental or other disabilities, a group of us thought we should be able to minister to them, with them more. And so about a year ago, we made a grant proposal to the diocese to help us research and then set up our ministry with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The Easter egg hunt was sort of the beginning of that, right? Because it was for people with disabilities, focused at them. Everyone's welcome, but it was focused on them. So we got the grant. We got $10,000. Yay. And it's a 2-year grant, so we could have another $10,000 next year, or more if we need it, right? So this year what we're doing is studying, and I've already gathered some information, some materials to help with that. And I'm going to hold this up so people on Zoom can see. 3 books, because I'm a book nut. Beyond Accessibility. Creative Ideas for Worship with All Abilities. And Rhythms of Grace, which is worship and faith formation for children and their families with special needs. It didn't happen this year. I don't remember when it happened, but one Sunday, Philip, you know Philip? I'm looking around, we're ready for the service. I'm looking around, and he's over there, he's handing out bulletins to people coming in. I haven't seen it since. But that one Sunday, he was a full member of this congregation, living and acting and serving. I want to see that again, however that works, or however that's manifest. But and how do we better meet Josh's needs? Right? I don't care if Josh is loud or disruptive. I just don't care. It doesn't bother me. It throws me off, but for heaven's sakes, everything throws me off, right? That's why I close my eyes so often when I'm preaching, because I'll look at somebody and I'm like, oh God, And besides, let's just say that Josh is not the only person in this congregation who can be disruptive at times. Yeah, your rector, for example. So this year's grant calls us to study and research and plan for services that are specifically aimed at folks with disabilities. We should not in any way think that those are just for people with disabilities. And in the end, it is my hope that it will just be a worship service, and anybody of any ability will find a home there and be welcome. And Wendra points this out. You know, so many families with special needs kids, there's a great deal of isolation. And I actually will speak to that myself firsthand. You think that your brother or your child is the only one. And you know it's not true. But who do you go talk to? Right? So if we can be a place where people can come through that door and just bring with them what they got, whether it's their best self that day or if they just barely got it together to get here. Or, someone said once, I got 4 kids. I'm always one shoe away from getting out the door, right? Right? Oh, you had your both shoes on a minute ago, but now you only have one. They should just be welcome. Right? That is the thing I am most excited about going forward. And it's also something that gives me the most trepidation. What about when things are too disruptive for some of us? What about when somebody just blurts out, "Would you be quiet?" That's an anxiety, a concern I have. One last thing, I think. Mary Ellen a few minutes ago said, our finances are great and we're on the brink of disaster. She says this a lot. It's not just with finances. Here. I don't know if you can read it. It says Surly. Surly is the brand of bicycle that I ride. But Erica says to me, I don't know why you picked out that bike company, but it certainly is apropos. This is the Surly part of the annual meeting presentation by your rector. So I look around and I see a lot of people doing a lot of stuff by themselves. And like, for example, I see Judy Kistner putting out the ATP every week. And that's just the ATP. What if she wants to go on vacation? We're on the brink of disaster. Somebody should, I hate the word should. May dear God, bring someone to work alongside Judy Kistner to learn how to do the ATP. Or the website. Someone needs to come alongside of Roger so Roger can go to Leavenworth whenever he darn well pleases. And 17 people need to come up alongside Mary Ellen Young. And learn all of the not rabbit holes, all the nooks and crannies where she's got money tucked away. The spreadsheets of spreadsheets. So that Mary Ellen can go to Finland whenever she wants. And things will function. You know, I could go on with that sort of thing. You know, Riley's trying to get people to be lectors and lay readers and such. We need more lectors and lay readers and such. So it's not such an arduous bit of work. This is the surly part. We don't need more people in the pews. We need active members, more active. I know your lives are busy. I know the pandemic messed stuff up. I have children. Our lives are crazy. I have my mother-in-law and my mother now living nearby. I have 4 households to manage. Right? I do Phil's work. Not anywhere near as well. Our lives are crazy busy. We don't need more people doing heroic things. We need a lot of people doing a lot of little things, coordinated And yeah, I don't really like it necessarily when people come alongside me and say, hey, can I help you do that? Because sometimes I don't know how to make room for them to help. And that's where we're going to all learn, right? That will be a little more, that's where the jagged rocks, like up on our altar, get the sharp edges get chipped off. This is the end. We need to be both more gracious and more giving. And we need, when new people come, and whenever a new people come, it is a new group, we need to take what they have to offer graciously. And I don't hear it very often, but I do hear it. We've never done that before. That phrase should be, we've never done that before. I wonder what will happen if we do. Let's try. Let me think about that. We did try that a few years ago and it didn't work. That was a few years ago. Maybe we should try that again. The military, it seems to me, never keeps one person in the same position for very long. Right? You're a servitor for 3 years or whatever, and then you move to the next one. Tell me if I'm getting this right, John. And then someone else takes that place. So there's redundancy. The people who've done that know how to do it. And we don't fall into bad patterns or things don't work as well. Anyway, so we need to build our resiliency that way. That's my surliness for the meeting. Okay, not surly anymore. We need to hear more preachers. That's the thing. Even the preacher needs to have more redundancy in the preacher's ministry. So we are graced and blessed with 3 so far right now, Jim and Eric and Dan. And did you see this year? A female voice came to the pulpit. Shirley Clark. Yay. Well, I see all these women looking down because I've asked a lot of them to preach. That's the sort of depth. We need our depth of our backfield, of our team. We need more depth. So I'm going to keep praying for that. And please do too. So now we're going to move into another thing. And now that I've lulled you to sleep or outrage, we're going to do a couple of things that are interactive. So you're going to, first of all, I'm going to need my 2 people who are writing notes to come to the easels. And this is what we do at the vestry meetings. We review our mutual ministry agreements. And then we do this like for 5 minutes at the end of the service. How are we doing with this one? So we're going to do that with all of us today. So I'm going to tell you what the mutual ministry agreement is, and what I want is y'all to say, that happens. Well, here's the first one. The first one is that we will deepen our spiritual lives and relationships with Christ. So when we do that at the vestry, that's the goal right there, that we will deepen our own spiritual lives and we'll make possible places and events for people to deepen their own. So, for example, inviting Shirley Clark to preach gives y'all a different voice to hear. Or when we have a children's sermon that doesn't fall apart, we're all blessed somehow. So I invite you to add things. How do you see in our life together examples of when we have deepened our own spiritual lives or the lives of our of the community and our relationship with Jesus?
I think Eric's Sunday school, adult Sunday school program, deepening our lives with Christ, our relationship.
Eric's Sunday school program, yes. Jeannie Burpee. Oh, wait, can you guys write these things down? Who was doing this one, Liz? Shannon Dugan. You got little kiddos? I need someone else to write. And Jeannie, while you're going back there, what was your example?
The labyrinth is open to the community and all of us on special occasions or any day.
The Labyrinth, Eric's class. Was there one? Did I miss one? No? Mary Ellen? The women's small group. Evening prayer. I'm going to throw that one out. Yeah. Anything else we've done? Labyrinth? Okay, you get the next one. Oh, evening prayer. Oh, and we're going to take these, by the way, we're going to take these to our vestry retreat and use them. What's that? Evening prayer. And you could write MMA. Shannon got evening prayer. Okay. Okay. Susan.
May I just say that the goals, these goals are on page 13 in your book. If you want to look at them, it might kind of spark your ideas.
Great. Thank you. Susan says they're on page 13 of the report. Once a teacher, always a teacher. Thank you. How about when we eat together? How come I'm doing most of the talking?
Like you said, Greg, you'll lull us to sleep.
I lulled you to sleep. It was the spaghetti, and so now I'm... Heather. Oh, yeah, the Uvalde students and the people who were shot in Buffalo, right?
So, community concern for gun.
The process,
What Connie just said, social justice.
social justice.
So just social justice.
Yeah, but the solemn procession. It was it was community worship. It was what it was. Yeah.
We also did Palm Sunday over at 5 Corners.
We did. We processed to Five Corners for Palm Sunday, right?
We did the blessing of the dog.
The community animal St. Francis Day celebration, animal blessings. Thank you. The Easter egg hunt. You could get that one. What's that? Jacob's Pokemon class. Exactly. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you for doing that class. I know. Yeah. And that's really helping kids get out of pandemic isolation. Yeah.
To help the school with the food that Mary Ellen and Riley would buy and plus the supplies.
The assistance for,
Community support.
yeah, for Chase Lake. Yep.
Community support.
Chase Lake program. Jim, yeah. The food bank, collecting and distributing.
I think on that food bank, being recognized as not just a collector, but as a distributor as well. You know, we're being, oh, we're being known outside of just us. Say, hey, if you need food, you can come here. Instead of us taking it to the food bank, people were coming here for food, which
Yeah.
was good. They recognized us.
Yes, thank you, John. Did you get that? You did. Okay.
And the food bank is different than the food pantry, which is always here for people to come and pick up.
Oh, see, I didn't really even know that's what that was. The food pantry. She's got that one. Okay. All right. Let's move on, but if something comes up, we'll get back to this. The second goal is to improve communications with St. Albans, within St. Albans, and outwards to the outreach to the community. This is goal number 2. So, for example, Roger with the website and the constant contacts, Judy with the ATP, the bulletin with the announcements. Those are examples. Those were examples, and the question is, where do y'all see? How are our communications working, and how could they be better? For example, last week we moved some tables around, and I didn't really know who had territorial rights to the tables, and we didn't communicate beforehand. We're gonna move the tables. There was a part of communication that could be improved, is what I'm saying.
I mean, our online services are good. You know, that us two were talking together about how we, through this pandemic, stayed together, stayed in contact one way or another. You know, I mean, you have the ATP, you have the website, but I'm not a computer person. My wife can testify to that. And so, watching the online services kept me in community. Even though I was away, I was still here.
Nice.
So that's a good communication thing. And that's outside, you know, anybody can say, hey, what's going on?
Thank you, John. Carrie?
One small room for improvement there is that there are 2 St. Albans Episcopal Church Facebook sites. One is ours and one belongs to someone else, and it's confusing. We might want to add Edmond, Washington, or something to our Facebook name so that it's clear who's whose.
Thank you. Can you write that down?
Greg, is that lack of communication there?
No, I think that communication was really quite clear.
Change name of Facebook site.
Change.
Facebook site.
And it makes it even more confusing because I share so many of the ones from the other St. Albans because they're so good.
What?
Okay.
I'd like
Susan.
to encourage more people to join us for evening prayer, either just watching us or participating with us. It's simple, it's easy to do, and it's fun. And when we do it here in person, like soup suppers, come join us. Anybody can read it. Anybody can lead it. It's been very special to me, especially in all the months where I couldn't come here. And I want to continue doing it, and we need to keep more people doing it so that we can keep going. Again, redundancy.
Great. Thank you, Shirley. Susan.
I was just going to say, and I know it's been mentioned before, but when we had to switch over, when we closed down, and he said, okay, Eric, what are you going to do about your class? And he said, I can't do Zoom. I can't teach that way. And I said, try it once. And now we have this ongoing Zoom class that people from all over can join us and are welcome. And now we have lots of people coming to class and we're all together. And so that was a learning experience for everybody. So it wasn't all negative.
Challenging, but not, yeah. Oh,
Our sons are probably all renting our house to celebrate Eric's birthday.
aha,
Even though they're very capable of getting in, we're going to go home so Eric can celebrate.
okay. Happy birthday. Judy. Dan's connection with my instant news, yes. Yeah. Are you raising your hand, Jim?
Eucharistic visitors take communication from the church to those who are shut in or in the hospital. So Eucharistic visitors communicate a great deal from the church to taking the church into the world. So
You getting that one, Riley? Yeah, good. Okay. Yes. And the Beacon. Dan's getting in the Beacon as well. Yep. Local newspapers. Very good.
I know that Dan also does Annie's Kitchen every once in a while.
For communications?
True.
Okay.
That's
But you know what? It's outreach, so that's the next one. The third goal is, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Pat, I didn't see you. Harvey's in the way.
Well, something interesting has happened to me since I've sort of reemerged, to go out more with people. And when I'm sitting with people who are talking, I hear more people say, "Oh, I was, lifetime Episcopalian," or "I'm an old-time Episcopalian." And then we get talking about our church. And I was thinking, it happened twice last week. Women at lunch or, whatever. And and I can refer them. You're always welcome. I told them where the church is. And these are not friends of mine. I mean, they're just people that I met in a luncheon or something. But I thought if we had a little card that we could hand to somebody that would just have some basic information on it, that would be helpful because not everybody is tuned in to go into the website.
Right, right. So calling cards, business cards. You got that?
Would make them feel welcome to come.
Yes, thank you. Judy, cleaner.
Oh, well, I always am concerned when I see people at Safeway begging. And I know from the information I have, we're not supposed to give them money. You can give them food or anything, but it seems to me, again, if we could publish where these free meals are and just have a handout to give them, what the resources are. Do we already have that?
Well, when we did the cold weather station, we had a gal come in and
I can't hear you.
Sorry. When we did the cold weather station, we had a gal come in and it was a gift from God because I saw one sheet, but I found the other sheet. We do have a list of resources, but that takes a step towards the city. The city has a lot of resources too, so we could put more of the Episcopal Church resources, but yes, we technically do, and I made her a copy. She walked away with a copy.
Well, do you have copies for people like me who feel like I would like to click on them?
So,
We can get that.
Riley, did you get community resource list? I can put it if you didn't.
I think there's a whole lot of different churches that provide meals
Yep.
at different days.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Thank you.
That's awesome. It could even be on the back. Well, no, that'd get kind of small.
And
You put it on the back of the card.
we're just put the idea down and we'll work it later.
there's a couple of posters of that sort over here.
And have it posted, yes. Debbie.
I have another idea to share. Another organization I belong with, we had something we called off-ramp outreach. And the ladies organized, we stuffed plastic baggies with a bottle of water, church information, resource information, where the shelters were, and maybe a nutrition bar or something, or a nice knitted stocking cap with the congregation.
I've seen those.
So I'll put tight bag.
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, and the third goal is to re-embracing evangelism as an important and viable ministry. We've already talked about some of those things. The Easter egg hunt. Well, my brain is going blank.
All these things we just talked about, handing out things, those are all part of evangelism.
Yeah.
And the Evolve book.
All these, right, there's a lot of overlap.
The Palm Sunday walk and the Uvalde walk, to me, says.
Those were evangelistic as well, yes. The Uvalde walk, the procession for lament. Lament. I wore you out. We need to wrap it up. Okay, good. I had some other things that I wanted you to talk about, but maybe we're not going to do that. So this is what I want you to think about. And we'll discuss this some other time. Where do you want this, what do you see this congregation going in the next year or two? Or the other way, asking that is, where do you feel God is calling us to serve? And then the second part of that is, and what are you willing to do make those things happen? And so now we're going to talk about the election of the vestry, speaking of things to do. We have, sir.
Just a second, on those two discussion points.
Yes.
How would you like the congregation to respond to you for these topics? Do you want to send an email to the office? How do you want that response given back to you?
That's a very good question, because I was hoping we would do that now, but we're running out of time.
Running out of time. How would you like that conveyed? How would you like that
You can convey that any way you like. Email would be great.
Email Greg's email address.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, or any vestry member for that.
Vestry member. That's easy.
Okay. You don't even have to type. Okay. So we have the election of the vestry and the election of our diocesan council delegate, alternate. Every year I say, wouldn't it be great if we had more than a slate, that we actually would discern different people? And normally we just get a slate. And this year we don't have a full slate. We have, where's Wendra? Well, we have 4 positions that need filling. And we have 1 person to fill that slot, one of those slots. So, A, I'm very disappointed. B, I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong, that serving on vestry is so onerous or scary. And the other thing is, I think, well, I'm going to put on my Kevin McCarthy hat. I'm going to give away everything. So we could change the date. We could change the time. We could change the length of term. We could, if you could only do 1 year, we could don't. That's okay. If you're breathing, that's great. I'm saying all that in jest. And, those are sort of technical fixes. But the underlying issue is, why is it so onerous?
Maybe some vestry members could speak to that, particularly when we Zoom the meeting. You can sit in your bathroom or bathtub and join the meeting, for God's sake. You don't have to drive out on a rainy night and come to the church. You can sit at home and join the meeting once a month. And there might be a few other things outside the meeting, but there it is.
Vestry members?
I don't think it's onerous, and I think with the Zoom meeting, that makes it really easy. I've been out of town a couple of different times and have just been able to Zoom in, and it's not onerous, I don't think. It's not laborious, it's not, I enjoy it.
have so many physical difficulties, but doing it on Zoom is a piece of cake. You know, it's just 2, maybe 3 hours and it really drags on.
We have gotten much better the last couple of meetings. Pat Chandler.
Are you, is it sort of permanent that they're going to continue as Zoom?
Yeah, at least hybrid.
Anybody thinking of joining now, would know that term is going to be Zoom? Because that's one thing, I don't drive at night now.
Yeah.
At the very least, it'll be hybrid. You know, some people may be here, but it's going to stay hybrid.
If it were Sunday afternoon, you would have a very happy rector's wife.
I think you should keep it as a hybrid type of meeting. I volunteer with lots of different groups, and one of the groups that I do, they do once a month, and it's in Bellevue at night. And if I can Zoom from my home in Shoreline and listen to the same meeting and still get my words out to the group of 50-some odd people in this meeting, I think hybrid should be recommended or continued because it's like some of you say, you don't drive at night, you're out of town. I had 2 officers Zoom from Hawaii for their annual meeting, for this monthly meeting. So I don't think that's a difficult thing to meet.
I'm pretty sure we're going to stay hybrid, unless the electrical system goes out. Yeah. Okay, so yes, we're going to have one. Hey, Wendy, are you going to talk about Harvey? Harvey, she was going to introduce Harvey. Harvey is the one. Yeah. We have one person, Harvey, to run for vestry. And Wendy's going to introduce him. Because Wendra served on the nominations committee.
As most of you probably know, because everybody who wasn't on vestry, I probably asked if you would join vestry, and I asked Eric to ask Harvey. Good job, Eric. So Harvey has agreed to serve on vestry. We have 5 empty spaces, so there may still be more of you that are approached. I believe it's 5. Yeah, I think it's 5. Maybe 4. Anyway, Harvey is been gracious about doing this, and he's enthusiastic about it, and he's been doing homework and research and doing all the training that most of the vestry members avoid at all possible costs. So thank you, Harvey. You're already awesome. So, anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you. Thank you. So I think we could take a vote by acclamation as whether or not to accept Harvey as to fill one of the positions on the vestry.
So moved.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Okay. Who seconded it? Carrie moved.
No, I moved.
John moved. And Carrie seconded. John B. and Carrie Cohn. All in favor? Aye. By acclamation by all your peers. Thank you, Harvey. And now we're going to entertain nominations from the floor.
Volunteers?
I nominate Judy Cleaner. You can deny it if you don't.
What am I supposed to do, make a speech?
No, you can say yes or thanks, no.
You're welcome to consider me to be on the.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
guys be sure to discern what God is saying to you, because God will tell you to be on the vestry. Another quick short story. I woke up one morning before a Sunday service. This was before Greg was here. And a clear thought came in my mind. If you gave up this activity, you would have time for vestry. And I said, I'm not looking for time for vestry. But lo and behold, I listened. So pray about it and listen and think about volunteering.
Oh, yeah, Harvey.
I feel like I'd like to say something. I think it's been about a year and a half since I joined this church, started membership. I came here because of the fact that I wanted to go to a small local church. Unfortunately, I've been confirmed in an Episcopal church in Austin, Texas, and so to be able to come here was a great option for me. And I'd like to tell you that I could not be more thrilled than I am about being a part of this congregation. I mean, this is, well, I hope you get that message, because it's really a big deal to me. When I was asked to be on the vestry, my first response was, well, I'm still pretty new. And I think about that. Well, I went ahead and volunteered. So that's over. The second thing I'd like to say, if there's anybody that at the end of this meeting would like to know more about how to put the app for the directory on your phone, I'd be willing to help you do it.
Okay.
She's over there, just up there with the instructions on one of the shelves that Marty gave before.
Good. I'm sorry, I forgot that. It's okay.
It's a lot of thought. You know, we've all been wearing these hats before. It is getting easier to do the job. I think Mary Ellen is correct that if we don't fill the two other seats, that we honestly pray to ourselves, pray with God, and ask if that's a calling for you, or God lets you find out and say, hey, somebody that's not here, they might want to be interested to carry the mantle of vestry member.
I move we vote Judy Fleener in before she changes her mind.
Okay.
I second.
So Judy, Mary Ellen has made a motion to elect Judy Fleener quickly, and Carrie has seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Judy, and thank you, Mary Ellen, for calling the question.
I got one more thing, Greg.
One more thing. Go, John.
If you don't feel like being called for a 3-year term,
Right.
I think, Greg has said that, it can be negotiated for a lesser term, 1 to 2 year term. I don't think everybody should do a 1-year term, because next year we'll be doing more people. So if you don't have your heart set on this year, be ready for next year. Because there's going to be more seats available that we have to fill.
We have from time to time had two members of the same family on the vestry.
Yes, I know that. And that's why it's a heavy heart. My volunteers right now, if I do one more thing, be sleeping with the cat.
You know that I'm a smart aleck. Okay, it's quarter after. We're going. We have 2 vestry members elected. We have 2 other vacant seats. Did we have anybody nominating committee? Did we have anybody choose to run as an alternate for diocesan convention?
So correct, we have 2 delegates right now that currently are delegates.
The Jacobsons are our delegates.
Okay. And so they have 1 more year of their
Yeah.
term
Yes.
as delegates.
Yes.
So these 2 positions are alternates.
They're alternates, and the diocesan convention is going to be a 1-day business meeting via Zoom or hybrid, and then another day later, separately, for like the bishops or the.
So does the alternate go? If the delegate goes, does the alternate go as well?
It's Zoom. They can but don't have to, yes. They will if the delegate can't.
Delegate can't.
Yes.
So you make sure the delegate is healthy all the time.
Right, you keep them well fed. Yes, guard their house, yes.
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 Bring them food. Yeah.
Yeah. Shirley.
If it's gonna be hybrid, I will volunteer to be the alternate.
Okay, Shirley Clark to be alternate for convention. And Pat, you too? Okay, we have our alternates. Oh, well, we have before us 2 alternates, Pat Chandler and Shirley Clark.
I move by acclamation.
Okay, I need a second. Keith LaBelle has seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Yay, thank you, Pat and Shirley. Okay, y'all. Will you do all in your power to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of these elected positions? If so, say, I will by God's help. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord and to have dessert.
Thanks be to God.
Thank you very much for all your hard work today. I made you work, and now it's time for a little more food. Festivities.